Hello and welcome to, I won't say the fall, although it's been feeling like it, and I absolutely love it. I'm all about it, especially with the perimenopause. I'm loving these cooler temperatures and I love this time of year. And you know what else I love? My two podcast sponsors who have been so generous to support this content that I produce every week. I'll start off with Reinvented Threads with Gabby Lynn. I've known Gabby for such a long time. She lived here in the Northeast PA region. She moved to Lehigh Valley. She's got a great business called Reinvented Threads, where she creates, upcycles, reinvents from existing materials so that she's not creating more to end up in landfills. So you can find her out. She just kind of finished up her summer venue events. She was a vendor at a couple different events in the Poconos in August. But she does have a shop online at reinventedthreads.com, and she makes these really cool handbags, hats, scarves. She's been making these really cool arty monster dolls. So if you check out reinventedthreads.com, you can see her online shop, and you can also read about Gabby and what inspired her to start her business. She really does care about the planet. She's creative. She's kind. So check out to learn about Gabby, reinventedthreads.com, and you can also follow Reinvented Threads on Facebook and on Instagram. And my newest sponsor just started. She came on board in August. So it is Healthy Lifestyle Management with Lisa Regau. Lisa is someone who, if you meet her in person, if you have that pleasure, she is here in Northeast PA. She's just a very calming influence. She leads Saturday morning meditation. She offers one-on-one services, groups, courses as well, and all kinds of trainings because she is a nurse. She is a plant predominant nutritionist. She is certified in mindfulness, stress-based reduction. In fact, she's offering a course. I'm trying to think when this airs, if you'll still be able to get in. You can check it out on her website. She's offering that here in Scranton. It's an in-person course. It's a full 8-week course. It starts on October 1st. However, there is a September 17th mandatory orientation that is free, but the course itself starts on October 1st. It's 8 weeks long. I know I myself have been trying to be more present and mindful, but mindfulness is so important in the way that we live. But we do need to learn the correct tools and to practice it. So if you're interested in that, check out Healthy Lifestyle Management online. The website is long, so I will also put it in the show notes, but I'll say it now. It's Eat, Breathe, movelive.com. If you go online, you can find out all of her other services because I know that she does offer some one-on-one as well, that not just in person, but that you can get through Zoom as well. So check out Healthy Lifestyle Management, Eat, Breathe, Move, Live.com. I think you'll be thanking me for it, and you'll thank Lisa once you get to talk to her. And my last shout out is something I started recently called patron sponsorship. So I've had people ask occasionally, about the sponsorship. And here's the deal. Lisa of Healthy Lifestyle Management and Reinvented Threads with Gabby Lynn, they are my regular sponsors. So they're sponsoring the whole year, every episode. And those types of sponsorships are contracted. So there's an agreement. But if you're someone who says, you know what, I'd like to support what you're doing, but I can't really maybe contribute on a regular basis, I have what I started recently called patron sponsorships, a $20 sponsorship for just a basic shout out. So I want to thank my patron sponsor for this month, Robert Torch. You might see him out and about in the community. He is, delivering. If he's not delivering DoorDash, he's cutting grass, he's raking leaves because he can't sit still on top of his day job. So thank you to Robert Torch for your sponsorship as well. Welcome to this week's episode of Uncorked with Funny Wine Girl. This is Funny Wine Girl, aka Janine Luby. And we're in my favorite month, everybody. You heard me talk about it last week. It's my birthday month. And yes, my birthday was September 3rd, but I celebrate all month. In fact, if someone wants to say to me in October or November, hey, happy birthday, can I buy you a drink? Hell yeah, you can. It's never too late to share in the celebration because I do love celebrating it. Although, and now my poor guest is waiting patiently, but I want to share that. But I was fortunate to go out with my dear friend Tina Gallagher, who is a romance author. She's been a guest. We went out one day for lunch. It was a late lunch, and we enjoyed a lovely, really good meal and a couple glasses of wine, and we're leaving. And the person who owned the place, and again, I don't want to embarrass this person, he said, oh, what are you celebrating? And I told him, and birthday. And so here's the thing. So when he said, "Oh, your birthday," and I said, "Yeah, I'm 54," he said, "Oh, no, you're 21." And I'm like, "No, I'm 54." And he's like, "Oh, no, 21. That's how old I am. I'm staying at 21." Here's the deal. Some women might like that sort of thing. And maybe some people might think I'm being too tough because I've been told that before too. I don't want to be 21. In fact, Tina and I looked at each other. We're like, yeah, we don't want to be 21 again. If I had the chance to go back, I'd go back to my mid 30s. But my point being, the thing that bugs me, and maybe I do think too deeply into this idea that women of a certain age, like we can't reach that age because it's not cool to be over 50 or cool to be over 60. So naturally, I'd want to be 21. I don't want to be 21. In fact, I'm proud of being 54. So when I say it, why don't you just let me say 54? That's what I am. That's what I'm celebrating. So that was my little kind of annoying thing. And maybe I am too tough on people, but hey, those are the little things that are just little pet peeves of mine. But now let's clear the air and get into good stuff here and over my griping. This week, my dear friend Julie Esty is joining me, and Julie has been on the podcast a few times. She is out and about riding trains. You can see her roaming around the Dunmore Cemetery. She's crocheting. She's bringing joy to people. Welcome, Julie.
How's it going, Janine? Happy birthday.
Thank you. Now, am I over the top with that, being annoyed about that, Julie? You can be honest.
No, not at all. I'm 64 and I'm thrilled that I made it this far. And you're doing great. I'm doing great. So it is something to celebrate for a whole month. It's something to
Yeah.
celebrate every day that we wake up. I think we're still in the game. We're still hot. We're still there.
And for those of us in perimenopause, we are hot when I
Yeah.
tell you, whoo, burning up, baby.
Now you
No,
know why I like fall so much. Oh
oh,
gosh, like there were times you'd be like baking, and now it's like here comes the fall. It's like, oh, thank God, thank
oh,
God.
I'm loving it because I would be, like, of course, in like short sleeve, I had to be really light. Now I can actually put my sweaters on and be comfortable. And I love it. I just love the coolness. I do. Now, so maybe I'm a little bit bitchy about that, but I don't know. I just kind of like the idea of owning the age that we're at. And I understand those women who are like 39 and holding or 22 and holding. I guess it just irks me more when a man says it. It's like, if you want to be 21, dude, you be 21, but I'm not going to be. Thanks
Yeah, I
very
don't want to
much.
go back to that either. That's actually a rough age.
Yeah.
It's a very rough time in your life. And if you could go back now, if I could go back now and tell myself all the things that I needed to know, let's just say, while I'm not looking forward to what could possibly happen over the next few years, I'm enjoying what I have right now, if that
Yeah.
makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and you know what? 21, it's funny because I don't know, maybe people say it because they think it sounds good, but like you said, that is a rough time. And I mean, I was just finishing college. So yeah, I was drinking, I was partying, like doing whatever, but
Yeah.
I would totally go back to my 30s because by my 30s, I was really developing more as a person.
Hmm.
And I mean, it's so weird because I think back to those times and I never really thought of myself as especially attractive. And I look back at pictures now, I'm like, God damn, I was hot. I should have been sleeping around a lot more than I was.
Yeah.
I was banging.
Yep.
I was pretty good. But I mean, not that I'm okay now, but like when I look back at that, I would go back to my 30s and even into 40 because I had more fun then. And I felt like I was coming into my own more than definitely in my 20s. So yeah, I wouldn't. And as I get older, that's why I'm happy to celebrate because I'm learning more and of course,
Yep.
you never stop learning, but I'm learning more and I feel more confident in myself, even though I have still have a ways to go. So yeah, I wouldn't want to go back to like the time when I was so meek and feel like I didn't know anything.
Yeah. I think we're doing much better now. I
Yes.
know I am.
Older and wiser, right?
Yep,
Like
older
fine
and
wine.
wiser, much older and much wiser.
You always have fun stories and we want to talk about every year Julie has this Dunmore Cemetery tour which is really popular. People love going out. And every year she kind of mixes it up what people get to see. But you've also been riding the rails, so to speak. You've been on the trains and let's talk a little bit about the train rides and Steamtown and how you've been on there, but how you're also helping out because I know you've been having the best time on the train.
Oh, I absolutely love it. Steamtown is this gem that we have in downtown Scranton. I mean, everything about it is wonderful. The workers and the volunteers there are fabulous. And what happens in the month of May, last May and this just past May, they see almost 2,000 fourth graders in trips that last year went from Scranton to Carbondale, and this year they were rail runs. Now, I think next year when they do it, they are going back to Carbondale. So every Thursday and Friday, or sometimes Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we fill those trains with fourth graders from all over the valley. And they get me and two of my cast members from the cemetery and a ranger, and we get on, and I portray my great great grandmother who was an immigrant, and I tell people about my life. We have one of my cast portrays a mill worker, and we have one who's a pallbearer. So these kids learn about different stations in life and what life was like here, in our time. And it's really cool because we have like 10 or 15 minutes to talk to these kids, and then we have to switch train cars. And I'm the most uncoordinated person in the world. And you put me in all these clothes and stuff, and I'm carrying props because I've got toys to show these kids. They're like a rug beater, that's like 100 years old or whatever. And now we have to switch trains, and I'm gonna die. So for the first year, they're absolutely wonderful. They had somebody waiting for me every time I had to switch trains, the cars, which was so considerate and so nice. And I am getting better at it. And from that, I started volunteering with them. And sometimes I get on the trains and I'm just whoever, like whatever I'm dressed at that day. Sometimes I gab as a teacher that was here over 100 years ago who used to take her students out to the gorge for science and nature lessons. Or sometimes I'm just down there. It's like, hi, how are you? It's nice to see you. Like, where'd you come from? Like, it's wonderful to go somewhere and see people that are so happy about where they are. They're on vacation or they're on a day trip, or they're from Scranton and they've never experienced Steamtown, and they're happy, and
Yeah.
I get to be happy back.
Yeah. And isn't that a
So
nice thing?
it's wonderful. They just had Rail Fest, which
So
to
let
get
me
in.
stop you for 1 second. I just want so people we don't get too far. If you're not familiar, Steamtown, we're lucky to have it, as Julie said.
Yeah.
You can come out, you can hop on the train, and it's pretty cool. They do different kinds of excursions. I know they used to do kind of certain themes, and
Yep.
definitely the fall foliage. You can check that out. Now, Julie was part of something that was great with the fourth graders, where they were riding and they would learn about local history, which I think is awesome. But anyone can visit, so you definitely want to check out Steamtown. And when she's saying the players from the cemetery, in case you're wondering, it's not anyone coming up out of the graves. Julie has the dearly departed players, right? That's the name
Right.
of the. So Julie is part of this wonderful cast. She leads it. She's got great wardrobe, so she probably could portray anyone. She's got all kinds of costuming, and she has all these different people and actors who are very talented from the region who help out. And now I want to go back to what you're saying. So now you're also not only just with the kids and the fourth graders, now you're starting to volunteer. So
Right.
you're part of the being on the train, visiting
Right.
with people who are there. Tell me a little bit about Railfest just took place. If you have not heard of it, that's something maybe you can check out next year if you
Yeah.
like trains and you want to check out the area. But I just wanted to give that little context. Tell me a little bit about that, what that was like, the Railfest.
Real fast to get into Steamtown. It was free. Of course, if you wanted to do the excursions, I think they're like $6 or $12. They're relatively inexpensive. And I think it was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday over Labor Day weekend. And I think they saw in like 2 days, they saw well over 5,000 people.
Wow.
It was just amazing. And they just had a Lionel train collectors convention here in Scranton.
Hmm.
And they were over the moon about coming to Steamtown. So Steamtown is just not only a good outfit that I like doing things for. I mean, they treat me wonderful. They're a good outfit for us to have here because they're really contributing to our economy here. When I saw the people from the Lionel convention, they were here. Some of them were here staying in hotels for 9 days.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
They came from all over the country. They came from I've spoken to people from other parts of the world that have come into Scranton. And of course, they're dropping money for hotels. They're going to Cooper's. They're going out to eat. They're going to the coal mine. So Steamtown is really, really a gem that we have here. And every minute I spend down there doing stuff for them is an absolute joy. They're wonderful. So check
That's
out
great.
Steamtown.
Yeah. Let me ask you about the character because we talked a little bit, whatever you want to share. So I think it's also cool that, anyone, not just the kids, but anyone visiting, whether there's someone who lives here that just never checked it out or somebody who's coming from a different state. You said sometimes you portray a teacher from way back who used to take her students to the gorge. Now, again, anyone listening who may not be familiar, Naog Park is a park that has been around, and I forget if it was a book from the historical society or the county that I had where it showed really old photos back when they used to actually have the beach there and there were sunbathers. And when I was a kid, but this was an amusement park that I have great memories of. It had the zoo, which of course got
Yeah,
national attention, not for anything good, but it got national attention. But the gorge, there are trails throughout the park, and down below is a gorge that, quite frankly, is a little bit tricky because you can get hurt, and many people have gotten hurt. And now there's signs up all over because people like to go swimming there and it's dangerous. There are signs up all over that you'll get fined, and it is tricky because unfortunately what happens is, besides someone getting hurt and dying, because that has happened, you're actually putting the local medical personnel or emergency medical
yep,
crew in danger by doing it. It's really because, and I say that because I've seen adults, grown-ups there with their kids. You're putting people at risk by doing that, and of course for their own amusement, whatever. But I digress. But that's the gorge. Talk to me
right.
a little bit about this character and what you learned and what you're able to share with us about that.
What happens is on Sundays, the Steamtown runs shorter, like not, I shouldn't say shorter. It's shorter in relationship than when they run like to Carbondale or Delaware Water Gap. They run out to the bridge that's at the Naog Falls. And that's where the train stops. And folks can get a look at how absolutely beautiful this area is, because it is. But as I say, on the train, it's like a rose. Sometimes, it's best to admire it from afar because roses have thorns. And I portray Susan Moody Merrill, who came here from Monson, Massachusetts with her husband, Hubert. They were teachers and they ran the Merrill Academy, which was in the Century Club. The Century Club ladies purchased from the Merrill's daughters. After Hubert and Susan died, Augusta ran the school for a little while. And, she sold to Mr. Scranton, and that's how it got to be the Century Club. But Susan Merrill used to take her students out to this gorge area so that she could teach them science and nature. And between 1868 and 1900, that place was really hopping because people were over there on that side of Naog and, in the vicinity of the falls slash gorge slash whatever, there was a concession stand where you could get non-alcoholic drinks. There was a photographer who I imagine was probably doing like the penny photographs. There was a confectioner over there. Bauer's band would play regularly and you could dance. People would walk the trails. Of course, girls would go over there and pick posies. Mayor Ezra Ripple had a problem with guys bathing down there because nobody wants to bathe with all their clothes on. So you have young guys down there in various stages of undress, which is kind of tripping the trigger of the late young girls because you have to realize this is between 1868 and 1900, and it's not really socially acceptable to be half dressed somewhere where people can see you. Now, the area also had its people who wanted to live off the grid, um, hermits, people who had mental illness. So you've got that in this place when you combine it with the falls and the water and the landscape and how dangerous it can be. So consequently, as all of us who live here in Scranton know, there in all this time there have been an awful lot of accidents, injuries, and deaths. And the first one that I can find is a young girl, a teenage girl, who I believe sees one of these hermits and she gets scared. She's with her friends and she gets scared and she falls in the water. And you have to realize it's 1868. Imagine all the clothes this girl has on. She goes in the water, she goes over the falls. Her chances of getting out are slim and none. I mean, because all those clothes are just gonna like, and she drowned. And she kind of kicks off this string that still goes on today because every summer how many people we lose over there. But there were things like in the shallower waters, some of the churches did baptisms over there. It really, really is an interesting place. And like I don't talk for hours on it. I just kind of hit on the high points on the train. But it's just so wonderful to stand in this place that's so beautiful. Yet it's just so it's a place that we really need to keep our distance from and be able to talk about it and to tell people that people were over there and this was heavily populated and it was a whole different time.
Mm.
Imagine being over there and listening to Bauer's band, and it was somewhat of a lover's lane. A lot of necking, I would imagine, went on over
A
there.
lot of naked, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of necking. That's what we used to call it years ago.
Like
So
Blueberry Hill, right? I found my
yeah,
thrill on Blueberry
yeah,
Hill.
yeah. So I get to talk about the gorge from time to time. And when I'm not talking about the gorge, I'm talking about my great grandmother and, the life of a coal miner's wife. So it goes from one, and I think it's the eventual goal to expand this cast of characters with not just me, but possibly some of my other players. So that from time to time, because like some days I go down, I don't even get on the train. I just hang out in the parking lot, walk around, and you see people like if there's four of them visiting and they want a picture, well, they can never get all four of them in the picture. So like, do you guys all want your picture taken together? Like, I just love that. Like, if your camera, I'll take your picture and get all of you. And people are like just thrilled to death over that. So it's like really the simple things that like make me happy down there.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, for folks who aren't maybe familiar, as Julie mentioned, the gorge there, and just to let you know, like today, it is considered to be off limits, the gorge itself, but you can go, and Naog is honestly one of my favorite places in Scranton, and it does have a very long history. There are trails that you can walk, and you can still see there are little like wooden kind of I guess you call them like observation kind of decks,
Yeah.
and you can see falls. It's just that you're not the gorge itself, you're not supposed to be swimming in it. You're not supposed to get too close to it, but you can admire the falls. You can walk on trails around the park. The park itself is home to the Everhart Museum, which is beautiful. I have done 2 comedy shows there. I'm doing another one there in October. They get some great exhibits that come through there, and they've been doing a ton of great events. The Greenhouse Project is on the property of the park. I love supporting them. They have great programming, yoga classes, all kinds of things like that. But they sell mums in the fall, different fall flowers. They sell like annuals and perennials in the spring, and I love to support them. So Naog is a great place. I would encourage anyone to check it out when you are there. And and I almost forgot, they recently, only I think last year or maybe the year before, they opened up the Brooks Mine. So
Oh
you
yeah.
can actually, I took
Oh,
my
yeah.
dad in there. Unfortunately, we were on the tail end. It was kind of weird. There's a couple, they're all volunteers. So I applaud them for donating their time, but we were on the tail end of like this little, like, the guy was leading it, and he was kind of talking to the two people in front of us and not realizing my dad's hard of hearing and I can hear, and I still couldn't hear him. So we kind of missed out on the details, but it's free and you could make a donation, but it's free and you could go there again on the property of NAOG. It's not far from the entrance to the museum. And now I don't know, I think they do it into the fall, but you can go in and see what it was like for some of our coal miners there to what they had to deal with, and then the volunteers share some of the facts around that.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Cool
cool.
place.
Yeah, definitely very cool. Before we move on to the dearly departed players and the Dunmore Cemetery tour, can you give us like a little synopsis of what you talk about with your grandmother? Like, what was it like for her being married to a coal miner?
It was a very difficult life. Very, very difficult. Like she talks about how she had to leave her home in Hungary, and she never saw her mother and father again. Of course, she lands in New York City. She knows no one. She can't even speak the language. She comes here with Alex, her husband, who is older than her. And, he works in the mines. He eventually gets hurt. She grows her own vegetables. She's taking in laundry. She's a midwife in the neighborhood. They always call her when somebody is having a baby. And she just has a very hard life. She has 7 children. And in the end, she ends up passing away before Alex, who did get hurt in the mines and couldn't work. But she ended up passing away, believe it or not, by doing laundry.
Oh my gosh.
You wouldn't think it, but that's what happened to her. She was doing laundry in the cellar, probably washing on a washboard and, rinsing out or whatever, with the intention of hanging everything out on the clothesline. And she came up from the cellar, and I'm learning that this is common too. She came up from the cellar with her laundry in a basket, and she lost her balance and she fell backward. And she got a skull fracture. And that's how she ended her time in the coal region.
Wow.
But
You
it
know,
was not an easy life.
no, I can't imagine, but it's interesting to me how we think about entrepreneurs today, but back in the day they had to be
Yeah.
thrifty or entrepreneurial in spirit. Like, okay, what can I do to help contribute and bring in make a living? Okay, I'll do people's laundry. I mean, people had to be inventive like that
Yep.
and creative.
Taking in
Yeah.
orders,
Yeah.
delivering babies. She would stay with, like, if she delivered a baby, she would stay for how many days afterward. And she would get paid for that, but it was only really about $5. Like, and where are you going when you have 7 children and a husband that's injured from the mines? I mean, that's really not going very far at all.
No.
So she was, I like to say that she was the brains behind the operation, because a lot of times, and I'm sorry to say, a lot of times women are the brains behind it. If when things get tough, we're the ones that know how to stretch that box of macaroni and cheese, like, how to make it. And that's exactly what she did. So that's what I do. I talk to these kids about the life of a miner's wife. And don't forget too, we have, like, when I went to school, everyone was from here at that time. Now we have a lot of children that have come from other places. So it's nice to be able to talk to them and say, I came from somewhere else. And this is what happened to my children. They went on to do better in life. They didn't have to go to work in the mines. So I think in some ways she might help in that direction.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting you say about how she died. And, now I'm embarrassed to say I don't know this, but I feel like you're right when you said that's a common story. I feel like that's how my great grandmother died. And I mean, I feel like I should know that, but and a shame on me for not, but I feel like my mom told the story or my grandmother. And I think it was my great grandmother who fell down the cellar and died. And I mean, I'm going to have to ask my mother, but if it wasn't her, it was somebody close to the family because they were doing things like that where you could, lose your balance, lose your footing.
Yeah.
And and that happened. You're right. I think that was common.
I mean, we do celebrate Workers' Memorial Day for all the workers who have been killed on the job. I wonder if anyone has ever studied how many women have actually died in their homes on a ladder, bring it coming up the steps. My sister, she's always out concreting and working some kind of thing. I mean, stuff happens,
Hmm.
and I think that women probably get hurt in the home more often than you think. And I think it's very possible that women often die in the home too, doing things, or at least they did more often than you think.
Yeah. Well, and I'm sure back then, I don't think safety was as well, it wasn't talked about, right? But like certain safety, things that would have been in place or now certainly probably weren't in place back then. So there was probably a lot more risk involved.
Yeah. Well, I know here when I'm changing curtains, it's like you're gonna die. You're gonna die.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, God, no, you will not go for that ladder. No. You will get every chair and like put your leg here, and then you're hanging on to this. It's like, I'm gonna die, but I'm hanging these curtains and I'm not dragging that ladder up from the cellar. No, I'm gonna die. So like, you just do dumb and admit it, Janine. We know we're doing something
Oh,
dumb.
we know we're doing something dumb. I
Just
used to, because I'm short, I used to get up, jump up on my countertop and try to
on
reach
the
stuff. Now,
counter.
sadly, I'm not limber enough to do that, but I still reach and stretch. So I'll have
Yeah,
a glass on my head one of these days.
yeah. Well, injuries loom large. So that's right. That's what I do, and that's what I do with the school kids.
That's awesome. So again, folks who have not been, check out, you know what? You don't have to be from outside the area. If you live in Northeast PA and you haven't been, I know when my friends came here to visit me in 2015 from France, I took them to Steamtown and we went through because there's also like a little, of course, there's a gift shop, but there's like you can watch a film inside, and we
There's
took
the
a
museum
short
is
ride. Yeah, it's a museum, right?
the museum is fabulous. And I know coming up that they do runs in October, which I believe you're going to be able to see, the leaves from time to time. I know they go to Delaware Water Gap. I think they just had an ice cream social train. So they do switch up what some of their themes are from time to time. But I'm just down there bobbing around. Everybody just really needs to go to their Facebook page or check out the Iron Horse Society or check out Steamtown online because they're going to find a real gem down there.
Yeah. And I will put in the show notes, check out, I will make sure that I look up and make sure I have the exact website for Steamtown and I'll put it in the show notes. But as Julie said, check out their Facebook too, because I know they do run different events. And with fall coming and the foliage, I'm sure they're going to have something that you
Yeah.
can check out. That would be cool. So Julie is also known in the area for her dearly departed players doing the Dunmore Cemetery tour, where you go and it's free and you can follow along. And there are different actors portraying people, and you can hear their stories. Basically, they talk a little bit about their lives, maybe how they died, and you walk through the cemetery. And let me tell you, honestly, it can be the most beautiful thing to do on a Sunday afternoon because fall weather to me is perfect. And you've got the foliage, you've got, beautiful, beautiful cemetery grounds. And Julie also often has people decorate. I did it last year. So you're going to see nice fall wreaths and, just really tastefully done, really pretty, like pumpkins, just something really pretty to see. So every year you kind of mix it up. It's always entertaining. And there's usually, a story that might break your heart, a story that makes you laugh. You've definitely done a lot of those. And people walk away having learned something too. What can we expect? Tell me about what you're without obviously giving away too much. What can we look forward to this year? What's it all about?
Well, there isn't really a theme other than I have addressed some issues that I felt needed to be addressed because of our current situation.
It's a
So
situationship. Yeah.
I've addressed women's rights. I have a story of a woman, because things just like with my great grandmother, it just wasn't a day at the beach. And I have this woman who was married to a man who ended up being convicted of having sex with underage girls. And he went to Eastern State Penitentiary. And, when you have something like that, really what you want to do is just get away from that person. But sometimes it's not that easy. And she eventually does get away. But when you find out exactly what happens, it's just sometimes you never do get away.
Mm.
You go through the cemetery and you look at all of these people and you see all of these couples that are together and there's hearts engraved that are entwined and they've spent decades together in life and now it's an eternity of love together forever. Well, it's not like that for everybody. And
Yes.
it certainly wasn't like this for this woman, but like where was she going? Because it just wasn't a day at the beach for women back then. I do have a couple on, in celebration of October. I have a couple on who were costumers here in the late 1800s. I'm sure Elle.
Oh,
Elle
yes.
Elle is one of Mrs. Fahrenhold, and her husband is portraying her husband.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I know. So I actually have a married couple out there portraying a married couple.
Oh, that's
And
really sweet. That must be fun for them.
yeah, their costuming is fabulous. They're fabulous. And they talk about this couple who costumed, and with Halloween it's kind of, fitting. And I like to have a giveaway somewhere on the tree. They have the giveaway. They have the giveaway. And what else do we talk about? We address prisoner of war camps
Mm.
on American soil,
Hmm.
which is something that I thought we were never going to have ever again. But here we go. We have some kind of whatever. So, I had to address that. And Chrissy Gronza. You know Chrissy, don't you?
Yeah, I remember her. Was hers musical last year? She was
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
really good what she did last year. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, Chrissy's out there again this year. And this year she's singing. She starts off her talk because she is a music teacher. She starts off her talk singing the Dunmore High School alma mater. And if anybody hears this and they went to Dunmore High School and Chrissy's out there and they go on the tour and they hear Chrissy, I want them to join in on that alma mater. And then, many years ago, and then, last year, I addressed the secret message that is out there on the Hill. There's a secret message that was left for the Masonic fraternity. And last year, I invited the Masons to come out and hear this talk. So they did. They turned out in really big numbers. But when I got done, they asked me if I would let them portray these members from their past. And it's like, yeah, why not? So you know what? How many different Masonic lodges are participating this year? And they're going to get to portray these people that are really, really significant to them.
Hmm.
They also have one of them is going to step up because Dave Byers, who is from Steamtown and has joined my cast, he was with us last year. He was the guy with the weasels. He's out there and he talks about a man who was a Mason and he survived a lot of national tragedies where a lot of people were killed, and he just happened to be wrong place, wrong time, but he survives. But after he dies, a grifter comes forward, and she's doing a grifter thing. So there's a whole other story as to what happens after this gentleman dies, and it involves a piece of jewelry. And with the benefit of hindsight, I think I know what happened to the piece of jewelry. So one of the Masons is actually going to stand up and say, but that's not all of the story. And he's going to tell you the rest of it because the story is so long. Like I didn't want to give it to one person to have to memorize. So the Masons have really come along and they're going to do a great job. So
Wow.
it's
That's fantastic.
nice to incorporate another group of people in with us.
Yeah.
So
No,
we'll
I
see
think
how it
that's
goes.
great. Yeah, that's, you know what? I think that's great for collaboration and getting people more interested, right? The community
Yeah,
connections. That's great.
yeah, yeah. And they're great, and they're very good at memorization. So you know what? Have at it. Last year that, like I said, they showed up and they were just, it's nice to see other people celebrating their history. And if
Mhm.
you can do that for them and help them out and you know what? I'll let them get up there and do it. It's not a problem. You know, maybe they'll tell me what the rest of the story is up there because I know that there is more to the story on that hill. I've just been afraid to ask them because I feel like it's not my business, but it kind of sort of is. So like maybe when they get all done this year, they'll tell me what it is.
Yeah.
So, you know, we have a bunch of different stuff going on. Like I said, we have some fun. You know, we have Nelson back. Nelson falls in a sewer.
Oh,
So,
geez. Well, that
so he,
sounds fun.
he talks about his little excursion into the underworld of Scranton and how he got
Oh, I would love to picture that. The underworld
yeah.
of
So
Scranton
we have
walking through the
Nelson talking about
sewers.
falling in a sewer. Roger is out again, and for some reason, this surfaced a couple of times last year, and it's like, you know what? I just need to bring this back. One year, I did a talk about all the elevator deaths in the city of Scranton. And it's rare to go in a building here that does not have at least one elevator death. So I gave Roger, you know, it's like since people were asking me about it, it seemed like that was a topic for some reason. It's like, why are people? So, like, I did more research on it and I brought the elevator deaths back. And Roger's out there. Roger's phenomenal. I mean, Roger Mattis is just, he's phenomenal. He's got this character, he's a maintenance man. And Roger's talking about how he ended up passing away. Nelson fell down in the sewer, and this one falls down an elevator shaft. It's like, they're on opposite sides of the cemetery, busting each other about their their misadventures. So you know what? We do have fun, even though it's a history thing, and some of the deaths are tragic. I mean, we do have a lot of fun out there. And I always say when it gets to be my turn, Death is probably going to be so mad because I made fun of it so many times and laughed at it out there in the cemetery. But hey, what are you going to do? I mean, it draws people in, it keeps them interested. It's laughter.
Mhm.
It's good. It's
Yeah.
good. Out in the cemetery, it's a great teaching tool.
Yeah.
So
Plus, I mean,
maybe,
there's such a sense of curiosity, I think, too, that draws people out. Because, I mean, you're telling stories of people, and it's like it incorporates history, a different time frame, and people love hearing those kind of
yeah,
stories, like learning about what life was like. But when your players are bringing it to life, it's just so interesting, whether it's sad or whether it's funny. It's just interesting to watch.
yeah. So we're out there and we're having at it again. I'm out there since 1997, I think.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
So what am I coming up? I'm coming up on almost 30 years of tours.
That's amazing.
That's a
Wow.
long time to be out in the cemetery for the first, in the early years, I was only out there the first Saturday, the first Sunday, and then it expanded to the first two Sundays. So I will be there 30 years in 2027.
Wow. And you're still doing it 2 Sundays, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
So
will be
that's
October 5th and 12th at 2 p.m. People should get there early to get off-street parking. And people have been asking if it's ADA accessible. I would have to say that it is
mhm.
because the roads are all paved. You can take wheelchairs and stuff. And I do have people coming through with wheelchairs, walkers. I love when I see people coming with the little tyke strollers, and kids sleeping in strollers and stuff like that. And if you can make the whole way, you make the whole way. If not, you might get sidetracked along the way looking at stones or there's plants out there that you don't see everywhere, just because the place is so old.
Yeah,
So it's not just history, it's the arts, it's architecture, it's science, it's nature. It's a good thing. We're free to the public. It's not everywhere where people can go, and it's totally free. And it's a 2-hour theatrical show.
yeah. Now, are you going to have, I remember you did it last year and I think it was great. Scranton Rocks had painted rocks that they hid throughout the
Yes,
cemetery.
yes, they are. I have Scranton Rocks coming back. They are wonderful. People got so much joy out of finding the rocks. So they're gonna do rocks for the 2 Sundays, and they go out there. And I'll tell you what, some of the artwork that I passed was just phenomenal. I mean, this group is just, they bring so much happiness to people.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what, for folks, if you're not from Scranton, it's a group that you can join. It's on Facebook, Scranton Rocks, and I follow it. And like to Julie's point, some of these folks do the most interesting, beautiful paintings on rocks. And so, there's one guy who's been doing like really funny ones, but there are some that do whole scenes. Like I have no idea how they paint what they paint. Now, of course, I've done more simplistic ones. I've done like a cardinal that I put on my grandmother's grave. I've done different things. And some of them are simply like, you got this, like positive sayings. In fact, we talked briefly before about Naog Park. That's another place where this group,
Yeah.
Scranton Rocks, their goal is basically to spread joy. They will hide these rocks in different places. So you might see them in a parking lot. You might find them at South Abington Park, Naog Park, and on the back it will usually say they just want you to post it. Like, I was at the park today and I got this great rock, and someone who painted it might be like, "Oh, I did that," or "Oh, I left that there. I saw it. That's great." It's just a nice way to spread joy. And you can do it yourself wherever you live. Even if you don't live in Scranton, you're not part of this. Anybody can do this. Paint a rock. You don't have to be Picasso. You can just put a heart and say, "Be kind." Something like that. People see it. Even if they don't take it, they can leave it for the next person. I'll tell you, I love them. And when Naog, they did at one point have a tree dedicated. They had a whole rock garden. Unfortunately, they kind of did away with that. I forget why, but my point is there was a flat one that said, "You got this." I took that with me and I carried it when I ran my second marathon. So those little things, I just want to point out, those little things can mean a lot to people. We
Yeah.
can still make an impact on people's lives. And I'm so glad they're doing it for you again this year.
Yeah,
Those were
they're coming
phenomenal.
back. And we do have people that are decorating mausoleums, Scranton Films, the Lackawanna Historical Society, Carlucci Golden DeSantis. We have some private citizens that are decorating. And that's really nice because I've had people who have come through there for funerals say that seeing those harvest decorations was actually a comfort. And I had one woman who had completed her last chemotherapy treatment for breast cancer come to me one day and say, I came through here and it was such a sign of hope. And then in the week between the first two tours, we've seen people bringing their families in and photographing their kids, for fall, and like I'm over the moon because now like you're bringing kids, because many years ago we had a grandmother that brought her grandchild, and she said he's afraid to come in the cemetery. He thinks he has to be invited. It's like, well, here, you know what? We're inviting you. So it's nice to see that families are bringing their children in, and granted, they're coming in to photograph. But you know what? How do we know that that kid isn't future nerd who's going to replace me 20 years from now when I retire?
Yes.
So a lot of good things happen in the cemetery. 2 Sundays in October, a lot of good stuff happens. So if people can join us, we would be thrilled to see them. I had one person call me already from Florida. I can't even imagine. But they're coming, wanting to know where to get a hotel room. It's just like, when you get here, stop me and let me know that you're the one from Florida. It's amazing.
That's awesome. And I know we talked about this before, I think last year or the year before, because the kid who said he had to be invited for the longest time. And again, it probably changes generationally, but we've talked about this, how sometimes cemeteries, I'll admit, growing up, I didn't think it was a place to do something like joyful like this. I had the thought of, oh, death, and like it's scary, and you'd hear like, oh, I was scared. But I mean, you've helped me change my mind on that, where it's like as you mentioned, like a lot of people walk through the Dunmore Cemetery. The stones really are, the stonework is beautiful. They have so many trees in there and so much foliage. You'll find runners in there, walkers in there. It really is a peaceful place. I mean, I didn't always think that when I was younger. Like I said, I was scared, but it is a place to go. And as
Yep.
you had mentioned, and I know it's being done in other cemeteries across the country, trying to get people in for these kinds of things so that there is joy, there is art, there is theater, there is architecture, all of these things to be celebrated as we honor people who are no longer living and live our lives fully.
Right.
Yeah, I
So
think it's great.
that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, and you always have a good one. And I have to say, Julie may not, I'm going to toot Julie's horn here. She is always crocheting something. And let me tell you, everything she makes, they're just so damned adorable. Something cute in every season. I saw your post the other day, those little ghosts with the eyes.
It
I'm like,
goes.
damn, they're cute.
There's cemetery goes. Well, on the 20th, I'm at the local history fair selling my books.
Oh,
So
okay.
I like to have other things on my table, just for the fun. And you know what? I don't even care. If I sell them, I sell them. If I don't, I don't. But they're my little cemetery goes. I'm wondering if I should have given each one of them a name and a little story as to how, they checked out. And I probably will before I get done. But the local history fair is another big event that people might want to attend at the mall. I believe it's the 20th. It's Saturday the 20th. And you're going to have a lot of folks up there because don't forget now, the colder weather's coming. You need reading material. I have my books out there with all my dead folks in them and my murders and stuff like that. Come by, stop by my table. And even on tour days, I'll have my stuff. There's really, stuff there that you might want to have a cup of tea with, and sit there and read, a good axe murder story from Scranton's past. Like, why not?
Why not, right?
Yeah.
Axe murders pair perfectly with a nice, either a shot of whiskey, a cup of tea, a glass of wine, a hot
Yep.
chocolate, whatever you want in your
And
chair.
chocolate.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that
Whatever.
is, I'm sorry, that's September 20th. I want to make sure people know about that then too. That's at the Viewmont Mall in Scranton,
Yeah.
right? They hold it there.
Yeah.
And is it all day or what is that?
Is it? Let me wait. I have my calendar here. Yes, it is. It's Saturday the 20th. It's sponsored by the Lackawanna Historical Society. And people will be there from 10 to 4. And there will be a lot of different historical societies there, a lot of authors. There will be vendors. Um, they'll probably see April from the Lackawanna Heritage Valley Authority. And all of these people have information, or they have wares that relate to local history that would, either help you like plan what you want to do, for the winter, coming up next spring, or make great stocking stuffers and gifts.
Yeah.
I mean, my axe murder book, like roll that up, shove that baby in a stocking, man. That's like, what more could you ask for?
I
Wrap it
love
around
it.
a bottle of wine.
Oh my gosh. Hey, people are into all those, the podcasts about true crime and everything. So I
Oh,
think they should
yeah.
definitely get your book to put in a stocking
Well,
for
that's what
sure.
I have. I have the two prostitutes that were axe murdered downtown. It's like, well, I shouldn't say they were bludgeoned. They found an axe and whatever. It's just interesting, but it's getting chilly. You need your blankets and your glass of wine and your of course you have to have your Yankee candle with the fall scent. So that's a good thing to be reading, toward the end of October, first week in November, why not? So stop by the local history fair and snag some stuff. And again, it's supporting local artists.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and the different supporting local artists, and as you mentioned, the different organizations who will be there
Yeah,
too. Maybe you'll want to volunteer with them or make a donation because let's face it, these organizations need both. They need volunteers, they need
yeah,
donations to keep going, and history is important. We can't be erasing it or rewriting it.
There were a lot of vendors there last year, a real lot. I was actually surprised at the turnout from all the different organizations and the stuff that they sponsor, like that I didn't even know was going on. So it's just good to check in from time to time. Like I said, like before with Steamtown, they had an ice cream train, right? They've got different things going on. It's good for us to stay tuned in to what we have in our own backyard.
Yeah. Amen, sister. You know, I love to sing the praises of the region. So that's great. I'll give one other plug because this is two events you can do on the same day on September 20th in Scranton. So you've got the history, is it called a fair or what's it called?
I think they're just calling it the local history fair.
His local history fair. So you've
Yeah.
got that at Viewmont Mall. You can make it to both of these events. And you also have Welcoming Scranton over on Cedar Avenue in Southside. That's 10 to 3. I will be at that one doing laughter yoga. I don't have my exact time given to me yet, but it's sometime between noon and 3 p.m. I will be leading laughter yoga, which is, of course, therapeutic laughter. You don't need to bring your yoga mat, don't need to wear fitness clothes or even touch your toes. We're going to breathe, we're going to clap, we're going to laugh, we're going to feel good. But that Welcoming Scranton is all about connecting with people in your community, learning from different organizations like community organizations, activities for the kids. And check out United Neighborhood Centers. It's their 9th year of doing this. They have the beautiful old bank on Cedar Avenue, and they've turned it into, it's amazing. It's gorgeous. So that takes place from 10 to 3. And then you've got this event, the history fair up at the Viewmont Mall. You can hit both events. And honestly, for kids, it would be great for them to learn history and to check out and do some activities over at Welcoming Scranton and learn about different cultures and different things like that. So that's two things in one day that you can check out on a nice Saturday in Scranton. Yeah.
Yep.
So I will put the information in the show notes about what Julie's got coming up, the tour in October, but also the historical fair as well, so that you'll remember to check that out. Check out the show notes. And you can also remember on Facebook to look up the Dearly Departed Players, right? And the
Yeah,
Dunmore Cemetery tour.
they can find us at the Dunmore Cemetery tour on Facebook.
Okay, yeah, Dunmore Cemetery tour on Facebook. Follow there and you'll get to see all the updates. And Julie is great about posting amazing photos too, so you can definitely get a sense of what you're in for and the treat that you're in for when you see the photos and everything. So as always, Julie, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your time
Thank you
with me
so
today.
much too. It's been a joy. It's always good to see you, Janine.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So, for my listeners, if you're outside the region, hey, maybe you'd want to come visit someday, see what we've got going on here because it's pretty cool. And if you're in the region here, I know it can be easy to forget what is so close to us, but check out all the great stuff we have going on here in Northeastern Pennsylvania. If you would like to support content like this, remember every week I like to amplify the voice of a different woman. My goal is to inspire you, inform you, entertain you, all that good stuff. If I can check all those boxes, that's great. If you'd like to help support it and be a podcast sponsor, please reach out to me. It is probably more affordable than you think. If you buy a coffee outside the home every day, it's cheaper than that. So check that out. Just reach out to me. If you would like to be on the podcast, or if you have someone in your life, a woman that you're like, oh my gosh, Mary Lou would be great on there, just reach out. Tell me about Mary Lou. Sing her praises. And of course, as long as she's willing to talk, because that's a key part of it. We have to be able to have a conversation. But just reach out to me. Don't hesitate. And as I say every week, I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart and the bottom of my wine glass.